And just like that, we are back. Welcome, everybody, to another episode. I'm here today with the premier strength and conditioning coach in the country. His goal really is to create the fastest, strongest, most badass combat sports athletes on the planet. And without any further ado, this is Dr. Dylan Lemery.
Man, I appreciate you. And what I really appreciate is that you're wearing my shirt. So, yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, gotta support everything that I believe in. I love to support. And it's really all it comes down to. And I believe in what you're doing. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I've been there myself watching your workouts. I haven't gone through a full one yet, but it looks brutal. And like I said, the results are there, and you can't argue with it.
You know, we'll get you on one of those. And I do get a lot of credit, but I do think it's important just to recognize I have a special group of athletes, and it goes back to always choosing the right people on my team instead of just choosing anyone. And so, yeah, we're doing some really big things, but it goes back to athletes first and foremost. So, yeah.
Cool. Let's rewind a little bit. What is your background in sports, combat sports, and then how did you get here today?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I grew up in the wrestling scene. I wrestled in high school, went off and wrestled in college, and never in my life did I think I'd be here today, you know, in strength and conditioning specifically for fighters. But there's a guy, you might know him, his name's Mike Chiesa, and Mike Chiesa was my mentor, my wrestling coach. He's one of my best friends, and now he has the privilege or curse of calling me coach. And he came into my office. I'm a physical therapist, and I was rehabbing him. And he was just talking about how he needs someone to help him with strength and conditioning. And I got a little bit bored when I was in PT school, and I decided to get a certified strength and conditioning specialty license. Never planned on using it. Really, the only reason I got it was just to get a better PT job. And at that time, Mike was probably, number 7 in the world. I thought, yeah, I can help you out, I guess, but you want me to experiment on you? And he's like, no, don't worry about it. You know, we have resources, we have people you can learn from, and yeah, the rest is history. I started working with Chiesa, and next thing you know, we just started grinding. Our first camp was Neil Magny, Michael Chiesa, Abu Dhabi, COVID. We were on a co-main event slot. The next thing you know, I forgot who the main was, but they got pulled, and a couple weeks before, Mike's like, hey, we're going 5 rounds, and sure enough, he went out there and just absolutely took it to Neil Magny, and we got our first win, and yeah, if it wasn't for him, DL Training Systems wouldn't be around right now. So it started with Mike, then it went to Terrence, then, you know, it just one athlete after another. So we're doing some pretty big things, and it's pretty exciting.
So the first thing that makes me think of is, holy cow, that's a lot to jump into. How was like your confidence level from wrestling, even just growing up through college, through getting a license and everything? Because I know for me, if, like, let's say I just picked up a camera and just learned how to use it, and, you know, Tarantino was like, hey, come on set and help me film this movie. That's basically the treatment you got. So how was that? Like, did you feel like you were ready? Did you feel like, you know, you're ready for the big leagues right out of the gates like that?
Man, let's be honest. No one ever is going to feel ready, right? I mean, there's going to be an opportunity in front of you, and you're going to take it or not take it. And I was not ready. I look back at some of the strength and conditioning that I was providing at that time, and oh my gosh, you know, it was bad. But what I did know is I had the tools. You know, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I understand how to read science and how to understand that the principles that govern that. And I knew, like, I may not know it today, but I can figure it out. And so with that attitude, we just got better. You know, we just every single day we started learning with each other, and then also lots of great resources, working with the UFC Performance Institute, just trying to find different ways to grow. I mean, we just went for it.
Mm-hmm. So where is this timeline from DL Training Systems? When did you graduate? When did you get your doctorate? And how far until kind of you got your wings and to create this whole program that you've got now?
Yeah, so I graduated from physical therapy school in 2019. I probably started working with Chiesa about 2021. And I did not start my business, DL Training Systems, until about a little over a year and a half ago. And in a year and a half, we have 5 world champions on the team, more than 20 professional athletes, greater than 55 athletes on the squad, and more importantly, we've got a big announcement. We have DL Training Systems coming to the Mode campus in Liberty Lake It's a 225,000 square foot facility, state of the art. On any given day, you're probably going to see a world champion in there. You're going to see professional athletes, and we are creating something pretty special. So I don't know how much I want to leak out there just because I'm terrible with secrets, and I don't know how much I'm supposed to tell, but this facility is going to be insane. It's going to be something really special where people travel from all over the country to come to Spokane, Washington, Liberty Lake, Washington, to chase greatness.
That's so cool. It seems like so fast all this is happening, but like you said, you're never going to feel all the way ready, but I guess the universe will know when you're ready, and it'll only give you as much as you can handle. And you got all this coming. It seems like you're handling it well, taking it all in stride. What's been the hardest part from going from school to creating your own business and just completely creating something all by yourself that's taken off so much?
Yeah, I'll be straightforward. Being comfortable has been my biggest weakness. At my previous company, I was the youngest clinic director in the history of this company. I was promoted, and there wasn't a lot of pay raise. There wasn't a lot of room for growth. And at that time, I started looking for a new job, and overnight I found a position where I doubled my salary overnight. And the biggest thing that will hold someone back from chasing their dreams is a job that has a salary, and not just a salary, but one that's pretty comfortable, where you can raise your family, you can go on vacations, you can get to a point where you don't have to worry about money as much. And as I've been doing that, I've been working 7 days a week for the past 2 years trying to make this dream happen. I've been working full-time as a physical therapist and full-time as a strength and conditioning coach. And I'd say being comfortable was hard. It's hard to let a really good job go to chase your dreams, but I think I'd rather do that than the other option.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see this in 2 years from now?
2 years is a weird timeline for me, but this is going to be the best facility in the Pacific Northwest. You're going to find the most elite athletes there, but something that's really special about this place is it's more than just strength and conditioning. We're going to have physicians in-house. We're going to have dietitians, physical therapists, chiropractors, massage. We are bringing the works. But it's all with the hope of giving people more than just that. We're trying to create a community, and we're actually trying to create a place for the athletes to have opportunities to get internships and business training, because not everyone makes it as professionals, and we want to make sure that we are setting them up to be successful regardless of the results as an athlete.
Yeah, I think that's important, especially, that's kind of where I am right now. I thought I was going to be in the UFC and fight, make all my money, and now that's the furthest thing from reality, and thank goodness I found something else, because I could never just be fighting the past 6 years. So having that outlet, especially not only am I doing film and stuff, but also staying in touch with fighting and wrestling and stuff, which was such a big part of my life. If you're able to give somebody an outlet that they can still dip their toes in the water and be part of the game still, I think that's huge.
Absolutely. I remember my last match I ever wrestled, and I just thought, you lose a piece of yourself. But if we take the same principles that made us who we were, I've heard you were a really good fighter. And if you take those same principles, you could do anything you want in life. But if you find that passion, you stay with fighting, the product, whatever you make, is going to be so much better. And I think that's why I'm really driven to work with the combat athletes. It's a piece of myself that still gets to carry on. It's something maybe in a different life that I wish I could do. But you got to recognize, I'm not that guy. There's levels to it, and there's some pretty scary son of a guns out there.
Mm-hmm. So when you were wrestling and you got your hand raised, that feeling. What is that feeling for you now? And what gets you that feeling? And what does it feel like? And what's the difference between creating it for yourself and then being able to create it for others?
Yeah, I think for me, the reason I chose MMA specifically is that I didn't always have the best upbringing. You know, I came from a little bit of a bad situation. I had a dad that was an addict, a single mom, and a lot of these fighters, they've walked in those same shoes, you know, and I can really relate to them. And they're willing to go all in. They're willing to like put their health on the line. They're willing to put their careers on hold. I get that feeling not when someone wins, really when I see them level up and get closer to just um, financial success. I really want to be, a personal goal for me is to take an athlete and get them to a place where they don't have to fight if they don't want to. You know, they get to do it because they love it, but not because they have to. Um, we're close. We haven't got there yet, but it'll happen real soon.
Um, what does it feel like for you though? Do you still get that same kind of rush when you do get wins or you do see PRs getting broken? Because I mean, you are a big part of that now.
Dude, it's way worse. It's way like I think all the time. Like I'm sitting there, I'm like chewing my nails. I see Brady walking out of the tunnel. Like I want him to win more than anything in the whole world. Like, and you can't do anything. You're helpless. You know, you're like the parent that sits there and just like, and the fights that he's been in, man, it's been a roller coaster. Just getting dropped and coming back and just bloody but always getting his hand raised. You know, it is way harder being a coach than it is being an athlete, especially when you care about your athletes so much. It's a tough deal.
Yeah, I can definitely relate. My little brother was fighting too when I was, and watching him fight was so much worse than fighting yourself. Just because, like you said, there's nothing you can do at that point. You just gotta hope what you did was enough and training and preparation.
There's nothing you can do, and I can say hands down that the athletes I work with are more disciplined, more all in than I ever was as an athlete. And so, like, I don't know, man. It's like you won't know what it's like to be a coach until you're willing to sell your soul to watch someone else become successful. And I mean, that's how bad I want them to be successful. And I know that we have some people on the team that they're going to get there, you know, the Melissa Mayas, the Brady Heastands, the Kai Stewarts. You know, we have some people that are really, really special, and they're going to make it. And I always joke with them, like, one day we're going to have a documentary and we're going to be talking about this. So we'll see what happens.
I think so. That kind of leads into my next question. At the end of the day, decades down the road, when you hang up the gloves yourself, what's your checklist going to look like of all these dreams and goals that you've crossed off?
You know, I've thought about this moment a lot, and I could care less what people think about me. I could care less. You know, I've had people come up and say, "Oh, you're this guy," and I don't really get joy out of that. I want to look back and I want to see my fighters with a pocket full of cash. I want to see them successful in all avenues of their life. I hope one day we can sit at maybe I'll have a lake place by then. We can just like sit there, crack a drink, watch a documentary about all the cool things that we did. But the most important thing is
You're watching the actual documentary of this being filmed, and like, imagine us watching this documentary, and then you're watching yourself say you're watching it. So I can see that part right now. That's going to be so cool. It's like a video inception. So that's exciting to think about. I could see it happening. It's just a matter of time.
you know, Kai Stewart was just in town. He's a bare knuckle world champion. You know Kai, and we sat there and talked about it a lot. You know, we're just like, oh, we're gonna have this documentary. You know, we're gonna be sitting back on this moment right here, and it is something really cool to think about. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's a direct reflection of the people you're hanging out with. They're all chasing greatness, and if that doesn't wake you up at 4 o'clock in the morning, then I don't know what the hell will. You know. Kai Stewart's a world champ, and he's like up and comer. Brady, he stands in the UFC. Melissa's on the brink of being probably in the UFC, I'd imagine soon. We got this guy right here on my shirt, Stefan Micic. He's going for a gold medal in Paris. It's a real special group, and yeah, I just can't wait to see what happens in 10 years. I think it's gonna be wild.
So, just as a pure fan, what would be your Super Bowl moment? Getting to go with one of your athletes.
Well, I'm heading to Paris for the Olympics, I'm a wrestler. I have a guy that's a world champ and a front runner to win an Olympic gold medal. That's going to be up there. If I'm sitting in the stands and I just see him, and we're in this hard fought, match and he wins gold.
Oh my God, I just got chills, dude.
We're gonna check that right off the list. And the crazy thing is that I believe in him. I think he's gonna do it. He thinks he's gonna do it. Mm-hmm. He won the world championships and he took off back to back to back. The first guy was like a defending world champ. He was actually the defending gold medalist from Tokyo. He beats him. Next guy comes out, defending a world champion. Next guy, silver medalist at Tokyo. And it was back to back to back. And the crazy part about it, you can check this. I have on a different podcast. He's talking about it. He told me that. He's like, I want these guys. And he said it exactly in that order.
Whoa.
And then he went out and did it. The only hiccup is that he said that he'd be wrestling the American in the finals. And the American didn't make it. So, that'd be a cool Super Bowl moment. And there's no doubt. I mean, if I'm in the corner and Brady Heastand's fighting for a world title, because I think there's a chance I'd get his fourth spot in that corner. You're not going to get a better seat than that. And I just think so highly of him, man. He's just such a good man and a good person. And he's so all in and he's so tough that I could really see that happening. And he's young, so that would be another Super Bowl moment. Just check that off the list.
Wow. The craziest thing is it's not that far of a reach. It's right there. Both game plans are set out. Both paths are ready to march right down them.
Yeah. They're both very realistic, but when you get to that level, you got to show up and do something special. Mm-hmm. And Stefan, he's done it, but now he's got to repeat it, and I think he can. And with fighting, it's the worst sport in the world, but it's the best sport in the world. We've seen those moments where someone's just getting mauled and then, Leon Edwards hits him with a head kick. And so we're going to keep going and hopefully something like that happens. And I think it's a real possibility, but it's a brutal sport. So who knows what happens.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the personal characteristics that separate people like Stefan and Brady from, the best college wrestler in the land, the most badass athlete you knew growing up? What separates good from great, like in the gym or just, in their own heads?
The number one characteristic that I look for in an athlete, and it's a core value, I mean, I say it over and over again, and it's cheesy, but it's true. It's relentless consistency, right? We can lose today, but you only lose when you actually give up. I mean, Stefan's a world champ, and a lot of people don't know this, but, he took second in the country for the NCAAs. He was a 3-time All-American. His senior year, he came back. He did an All-American. Coming back from the Olympics, he did not All-American. And I remember it vividly. I said, the best has yet to come. Let's keep working. So the next thing you know, he takes a bronze world medal. The next thing you know, he takes a gold world medal. And so when you find an athlete that just has that grit, that toughness, that just ability just to never quit, you got half a success right there. There's some other things that go into it, but that's a characteristic. It's relentless consistency, and you've got someone special.
Do you ever wish that you could, with what you know now, go back to your competitor days and implement everything?
No, absolutely not. I think I've always played the what if game, but part of who I am is because of my lack of success as an athlete. And not saying I wasn't good, I never lived up to my potential, I think, I went into state a couple times, ranked number 1 as a wrestler in high school, and I never could do it. I went to college, and I had beat national champs, top 5 guys in the country. I got the national tournament. I couldn't do it. But that's the chip on my shoulder. That's kind of who I am now, and I'm living vicariously through my athletes, Like, I still have something to prove, and it's not as a competitor, but I know I can help them as a coach.
What are some of the big differences? Like, I know you primarily train combat athletes. What's some of the bigger differences specifically inside the gym that make that so much different from training, like, let's say, a basketball player, a football player, any other athlete? Like, what makes them stand out the most and makes their training most different?
Yeah, so I only work with combat athletes. Sorry about that. I might kind of branch off and help a little bit as we progress in this new facility. But combat sports is very different. I've had people hit me up saying, I got this kid. He's the next Michael Jordan. Do you want to help him with basketball? And I'm just like, no, sorry, I don't. Because when you look at any good strength and conditioning coach will take the sport and create a needs analysis, but you also have to understand, like, what are the demands of the sport? Most combat sports are horizontal vectors, meaning like we're side to side. There's not a lot of like fast acceleration going forwards. There's not, we don't have to worry about maximal sprint speeds. In addition, neck strength is imperative and crucial in combat sports. I'd say there are other sports that mirror that, rugby, football, but we really are trying to stop a concussion from happening because that's what makes you lose the fight. So that's another area that's a little bit different. And anyone that's ever done wrestling, jiu-jitsu, MMA, you know that how tired you feel is unmatched. You'll never feel that. You can go play basketball for hours. You can go swimming in a pool. You will get tired. I'm not saying they're not hard sports. Go grab your buddy and try to wrestle for 3 minutes outside. You guys will be puking. You'll be like, why did we do this, And that comes down to the demands of the energy systems that help us get through that, whether it's a 5-minute round, 2-minute match, whatever, or 2-minute round in a match, things like that. So combat sports are way different from really what I consider most of the other sports.
Did you formulate your own game plan in, like you were saying, your needs analysis? Did you have a mentor? Did you kind of did you teach yourself this whole way that you're implementing all the strength and conditioning stuff right now?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Like I said, I've been working 7 days a week for the past 2 years. Sometimes I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't turn it off. And so I will start studying at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just can't turn it off. That's how much I love this. But I'd be a liar if I said I did it all on my own. It takes a team. With that being said, I'm starting a mentorship here middle of the month. I'm going to be working with the head strength and conditioning coach for the UFC Performance Institute.
What?
Yeah, yep. So I'm doing a 6-month internship with him because I recognize that I know a lot, but there's so much more to learn out there.
Dang.
Yeah. So I've learned from a lot of people along the way. When I first started, Michael Chiesa was working with the head strength and conditioning coach, Bo Sandoval. And he was doing all of Mike's programs. I was just there helping Mike get through those programs. I really wasn't the brain behind the plan. But it was awesome because I was able to deconstruct his program and see like how he's doing it, why is he doing it. It allowed me to get a big jump start and an advantage compared to most strength and conditioning coaches, just being that close with the UFC. As that progressed, now I take trips down to the Performance Institute with Brady, Juliana, Michael Chiesa, and every single time I go there, I'm learning stuff. I also am really motivated. Like I find continuing education courses and things like that. But yeah, it'd be a complete lie if I made it seem like I just went and learned it all on my own. I had a lot of people that helped me along the way.
Are there any near future, technological advances in recovery or strength and conditioning that are coming up that are going to change the game? Whether it's like a new workout machine, new way to analyze performance data, anything like that you've got your nose on?
Yeah, so we currently use a lot of velocity-based testing gears, or what's called a linear position transducer. It hooks on the bar and gives instantaneous feedback, so you can see how fast you're moving that bar with meters per second. That allows us to understand whether we're meeting the intentionality of the lift, whether we're hitting the appropriate target for the force velocity curve. So that's a good one. That's something I picked up from the UFC Performance Institute. As soon as I saw that, I said, okay, I better go buy one and figure this thing out. Because if you're just guessing, you're not testing, you're not using things that give you that feedback, then you're leaving a lot of things to chance. And at the most elite level, I need a 0.5% advantage. I mean, you have to be concise and finite and really be intentional with what you're doing to try to drive the appropriate physiological adaptation to try to give us that advantage. We're talking about someone's livelihood, how they make money, their health, an Olympic medal. So that's a good feedback tool right there. In addition, there's also what's called the synaptic machine. It's kind of like a neurocognitive machine that works on things like reaction time, go, no go. They have it down at the Performance Institute, and there's also a couple here in Spokane. It's really, really cool. Movement and athleticism starts in the brain, and your ability to compute and problem solve as a fighter will give you a huge competitive advantage. So this machine has a lot of different programs that can help with athletic performance. It's amazing. And then it goes back to the testing, not guessing. I had the ability to, like I said, work with the PI, and you go down there and you see how they're testing all their athletes. And they've got the technology as far as, mid-thigh pulls, force plates. Those are really a huge advantage when it comes to those athletes and testing.
So you have all the training and recovery. How important is like what you're putting into your body as far as food and supplements?
Yeah, it goes back to that advantage. Like when I'm looking at research, I'm looking for anything that give my athletes like a 0.5% advantage. Supplements, there's a lot of research. Creatine, it's the most researched supplement that you possibly could ever think of. We have got mounds of research, and it's all it's positive. It's a huge thing. So if you're not taking it and your opponent is, you're probably behind the curve. So yeah, supplementation, awesome. I think sometimes there's some smoke and mirrors in supplementation. So I would encourage anyone to reach out to someone you trust that understands the literature that governs that, instead of falling for the next marketing scheme. Whenever there's like new things coming out, right? Peptides are kind of the new thing. Mm-hmm. People will ask me, "What do you think about peptides?" And I'm like, I don't know. Like whenever I see a large crowd running one direction to something and saying it's the best thing they've ever had, I throw up the red flag. Like,
Biggest, strongest, fastest people in the gym, but they're maybe too scared to go the extra mile or to even maybe get to the gym. What do you say to just kind of the regular folk out there that maybe don't want to be the best in the world, but want to be the best version of themselves, that kind of need the extra push to get after it?
I think that relentless consistency goes farther than what people really believe or know. Meaning, you don't have to be the best athlete in the world. Like, maybe you start on a micro level. Like, I want to be the toughest dad on the block. All right, we can work with that. Like, I want to be the best in the city. Okay, that's a good goal. Like, maybe I want to be the best in the state. All right, best in the country. Keep going, the best in the world, That mindset's going to make you successful in anything. And there's a lot of mediocrity in the world, so just to sit around and just be happy being average is something that doesn't sit well with me. So I think that everyone can improve, and you just have to find that goal that motivates you. You don't have to be the best in the world. Be the toughest dad on the block. Like, go for it.
What is it like for you when you work out now? Do you have certain goals that you're still trying to reach personally inside the gym?
Actually, I have the absolute worst strength and conditioning program for myself personally out of anyone on the whole planet. My life is so busy. I mean, I work out 6-7 days a week, but sometimes I have to get in with the athletes because I don't have time. And so, like, my program is whatever I can fit in for the day, and most of the time, there's no rhyme or reason. There's no continuity of the plan. Like, like I said earlier, like when you're willing to sell your soul to watch someone else become successful, you're probably going to be that special coach. It's what I do. Some days I'm working on maximal force production. Other days I'm working on speed strength. It's just I'm trying to move and trying to stay healthy. So things are a little bit different. But one of my goals is to create a plan for myself for my specific goals and be better at that because I'm transitioning away from physical therapy and I'm just gonna be working full time as a strength and conditioning coach.
So you're going to be transitioning into full-time strength and conditioning. How does that make you feel?
Dude, I don't know. I went to school for 7 years and took out 6 figures in college debt to become a physical therapist. But it makes me feel great. I wouldn't have it any other way. I worked with this guy, a mindset coach. He's actually coming to the grand opening of DL Training Systems. His name's Mike Moore. He's worked with the most elite athletes you could think of. Zhang Wei Li, Divison Figueiredo, like some really big names. And he had this quote that he told us, and I'm going to completely destroy it right now, but it was something like without a purpose, you can't find your path. Or something like that. And it's the truth, like I thought I was supposed to be a physical therapist. And the longer I sat in the field, I realized that was not my purpose, and that was definitely not my path. So I'd rather go on with life without that regret and just try to chase greatness with my friends and see what happens.
And I'm sure you still get it's not like all this stuff you learned was a waste. I'm sure you still can transfer a bunch of that knowledge over, right? Or is it
No,
still
you're
pretty different?
No, you're right. I think that's what makes me unique and different from a lot of strength and conditioning coaches. For instance, Stefan was here in town, and with my elite athletes, I put them through a battery of tests that I've created, and I also do a full movement assessment on them. And as I'm going through Stefan's movement assessment, he says, "Hey, I think I sprained my PCL, and I was in like Tokyo. I was doing this sumo wrestling. Take a look." I was like, "Yeah, whatever." So we finally get down there, and I do a posterior drawer test on him, and that checks the integrity of his PCL. And I look at him, I go, "You don't have a PCL."
Oh shit!
He's like, "What?" I was like, you don't have a PCL." He said, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, if you have it, it's hanging by a thread. It's functionally not intact." Now here's the good thing. I understand what the PCL does from an anatomical, perspective. We have to make a decision. Are you going to have surgery, or are you going to compete at the World Championships? We're not doing surgery. So, using my medical knowledge as a physical therapist, we're able to make sure we address that deficit. We really, 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 really hammer hip, knee, foot stabilization. He has no pain, really no dysfunction in movement patterns as he goes around. And we go for it. He wins a world title. I'll tell you what, we're still not going to do surgery.
Dang.
We're going to keep it going. We're going to ride it out. And, maybe it gives us a competitive advantage. I don't know. We'll see. If you don't understand it, it could be pretty scary, Like, I'll show you the video after this. It's bad. There's a whole bunch of, like, what we call posterior translation. His tibia is just nothing stopping it, right? But you get to make a decision with him. You have the medical knowledge to explain, hey, this is what's going on. If you want to go repair it, you can, but you're probably not going to wrestle at the World Championships. You get to lay out, what are the consequences of what could happen. And most importantly, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. Yeah, I think we can figure out how to load the surrounding tissues to try to help make up and create a compensatory strategy so that we can take them to the World Championships. And it's been huge to be a physical therapist just because, that's just one example. Our fighters are hurt all the time, Now, with that being said, I really try not to wear both hats because things get a little bit like I only have so much time in the day. Like, I was already working full-time for a different company as a PT, full-time as a strength and conditioning coach. Like, I just didn't have time to be seeing people on the side and things like that, so I don't really treat my athletes, but definitely programmed to address those deficits.
When I hear you talk in the gym about like why this workout is good for this, you have so many big words that I've like never heard before, and I've never seen fitness at such a scientific level in person before. So I would feel so comfortable of like, you tell me what to do. Yes sir, yes sir. Obviously, you know what you're talking about. So being on the receiving side of all that knowledge, I'm sure is so relieving for your athletes, just to be like, this is clearly the best in the world. Half the stuff you say, I don't even know what it means, but I'm sure it's to make me the best. So let's do it.
No, don't fall in that trap, man. I mean, there are some people with some big words and some big degrees that don't know what they're doing. And you know what? There's been times that I didn't know what I was doing too. So I'm humble enough to recognize that. But I think it's important to realize where this sport's going, right? The word strength and conditioning coach is really limited in the word, right? We work on strength or conditioning. No. We're working on human performance. We're working on trying to optimize your body so you can express a skill set that makes you lethal, where you can, I mean, basically kill another person, right? If there wasn't a ref in the jungle, someone dies. And I think most sports are there, but MMA is like, it's just young. And so when you have people that are able to mimic, you know, my ideas are not always the most original. I just look around to people that are smarter. I mean, it'll give you that advantage you're looking for. Yeah, it'll definitely give you a big advantage, but I probably need to be better. I need to tone my vocabulary down and make sure you guys just understand it.
No, I think you're doing a great job, and like I was saying, it makes me confident in being able to trust in you, because you're not doing anything that's unnecessary. There's no unnecessary movement. There's no unnecessary drills or any extra exercises, because everything has a purpose, and the purpose is for fighting. And not only that, but also like doing a rotation on the Airdyne bike. That's also so much mental work that you have to go through, and just sharpen your mind too to get through a full workout when it's intense like that.
Yeah, we have to remember that athletes are people, and like when we do strength and conditioning, it really has to be like a holistic approach. Like we have to train their brains and their body, and sometimes it's a teeter totter. Like your job's not to go in and kill someone just to give them mental toughness. Like they can figure that out in the gym. But I very much am intentional with everything I do with strength and conditioning, and I try to work on things like we're visualizing, like we're seeing success before it happens. I'm a big believer, like you put it out in the universe, it probably happens. Just keep telling it, you know. When I started as a strength and conditioning coach, I used to tell, like, I was just working with like Kiesa, and I would tell everyone like, yeah, I'm working with like professional athletes, you know. It's funny now because like now I really am, but I told everyone and their brother. I mean, I might have been at the grocery store and be like, oh yeah, Mike Kiesa shirt, I'm his coach. But yeah.
Yeah, that is powerful, especially because, I mean, sometimes you know, if you make a post on Instagram saying, you know, I'm going to do this or I'm going to be doing that, not only do like your peers and your friends see that to hold you accountable, but just like putting it out into the universe of like, you know what, I am going to do this. Like, I think that's huge.
Dude, I completely agree. I've suffered from that too. You know, the imposter syndrome. Like you kind of like, you start tricking your brain into thinking like, I'm not good enough. Like, I got all these like fears. Like maybe I'm not going to be able to do it. But I think my lack of success as a collegiate wrestler actually, kind of propelled me to a different belief. You know, like I started doing things and I started finding success in the real world of, you know, whether it was physical therapy. I started working with an athlete or two. We started having some really good success. And that's actually what prompted me to reach out to that mindset coach. And he's amazing. Great guy. He teaches some really valuable things, and a lot of my athletes use him. But it goes back to it. Like our brain's the computer that controls everything. And sometimes you just got to trick that computer. It's just like, you are worth it. And you're going to do it. And you're going to tell everyone. And you just got to be willing to risk it and fall on your face. And I mean, I failed a lot in life, but like, I definitely have that relentless consistency. Like, I'll fail. I'll probably fail again. I'll probably mess something up, but like, it's not going to stop me. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, just get the tools and keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm. That's huge. What sports? You got a little boy at home. What sports do you hope he gets into?
Ooh, this one's gonna upset a couple people.
Or doesn't get into?
Well, I'll tell you right now. I hope every day I wake up and I just roll over in bed and I just think like, man, I hope he doesn't play soccer. I just can't go and watch hours at a 1-1 tie.
Yeah.
And I know the rest of the world, oh, it's the biggest sport in the world. I don't care. The world's been tricked. I'm not doing it. I think from a approach as a father, I really I wouldn't want him to be a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I see what these guys do, but also from the medical perspective, I know the risk associated with being punched over and over again.
Is that my phone?
Yeah, I think it might be. Not mine.
What are you doing? Oh my gosh, how embarrassing.
No, you're good.
Sorry about that.
Keep it rolling. Who cares? And then I think, the sport of wrestling changed my life. It gave me the principles and values of who I am today as a human being. And, my darkest days of my life were as a wrestler, and my best days of my life were, probably as a wrestler, and it taught me a lot. So if it's up to me, I'd love my son to do it. But there's kind of this running joke. I tell everyone he's going to be a world champ. But he's going to be a world champ at whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
He wants to play darts, and let's try to be the best in the world at darts, You want to play ping pong? We're going over. We're about to wreck the tables.
Uh-huh.
You want to be a wrestler? Let's do it. So we'll just see whatever he becomes, then we'll just support him.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're not having kids anytime soon, hopefully, but I can't wait to have a little kid and put him in sports, because sports have been the biggest part of my life. And like you were saying, especially wrestling, teaching me so much about how to be a man, how to work hard, how to get better at something you want to be better at. Like, sports teach you so much more than just how to shoot a takedown, how to shoot a three-pointer, how to, X, Y, or Z. It teaches you about life.
I completely agree. I think the sport of wrestling has made me successful. I have this kind of joke. I was down in Rio de Janeiro for some UFC fights, and Said Yokub said something. He said, "Leave me here in Brazil. You'll come back and find me. I'll be in charge of the favelas." And I kind of laughed because, like, to me, I think the same way. I've always told people, like, if I started on the bottom floor of Amazon, like, you catch me, I'll be at the top. Don't worry about it. Mm. And it just goes back to wrestling. Like once you have that mindset, that grit, that toughness, that, like, you look to the left and the right and you want to outwork that person, you've got a huge advantage as a man, as a provider for your family. And, that's just wrestling right there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we checked off every question I had for you. We'll get into kind of the fun stuff and the closing bits. You've seen, I'm sure, like, all the celebrity boxing matches and stuff like that going on. If you could pick one celebrity with, like, a matchup and take him through a full course to, like, win his boxing match or fight, who do you pick and why?
Oh, I want someone with some real skills. I'll tell you right now. And there are some athletes out there that are crossing over. I want to work with Le'Veon Bell.
Whoa.
This man is an athlete. He's out there knocking people out. Like, give me a call, Le'Veon. I'll take care of you. Like, yeah, he's legit. I think that would check that box.
That'd be cool. Do you do you believe in UFOs or Bigfoot or anything like that?
Dude, I do not believe in Bigfoot. There's no way Bigfoot's been spotted on every continent in the, like, Russia and, like, Pacific Northwest. and we somehow can't just shoot them. You know how many hunters are out there? Like Bigfoot's off the table for me. Aliens, though, I think there's a good chance that there's life out there somewhere else, but to what extent? I mean, I don't know if they're green aliens with sophisticated universes, but there's other living organisms out there. I would think that we just don't know. Do you think so?
Yeah, definitely. Bigfoot, no, not so much anymore, but definitely other life out there for sure of some sort. Gotta be.
Yeah, yeah. What about? I mean, I don't know how deep we should go into this, but let's go like. What do you think about like the chupacabra?
The chupacabra. Now that one is interesting. I think kind of similar to Bigfoot. Maybe there was something very similar that like some sinister Wolverine type creature that was really fast and evasive that killed all the livestock and super detrimental to communities, might even killed a bunch of people. But like we know the Tasmanian devil was a thing. Those recently went extinct. We found fossils of old giant people. Basically, they could have been Bigfoot. And something I've always thought about is like if there's enough stories in the past and myths, I think those had to be created from something. So I think that there definitely could have been something like Chupacabra that'll show up in the night and demonize a whole city and be gone without a glimpse. And I mean, like dragons. I had this talk with my brother. I think dragons, you know how like the depiction dragons always breathing fire and everything's gonna dragons breathe fire. A Komodo dragon, we have those today and they can grow up to like 11, 12 feet, I think. And they don't breathe fire, but their saliva is so like poisonous basically because all the bacteria, it'll burn your flesh. It'll melt a freaking whatever it's eating. What if their interpretation of fire or like of their saliva was just portrayed as fire because it was like burning your skin, for instance? So little mistranslations like that, I think, are also possible. Where if all I can do is draw in a cave, maybe I'm going to be drawing a little differently than what it actually is. So I think dragons, chupacabra, Bigfoot, all that came from something.
I agree. I think too. I don't know if I should admit this, but like, you ever seen like a really good storyteller? Like there is a real truth in there, but like they're gonna throw a little extra on top. They're gonna give you like a little sprinkle of this to keep you engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I think you're right. There's truth, but the story just builds a little bit throughout time. Like you're sitting in a cave. How cool is it? Just like, yep, this thing licks us and we die. All right, let's go to bed, kids.
Yeah.
I think that you start creating a little story to it. So, you got any other like conspiracies you really?
Let's see. I'm sure there's a lot. I think about a lot of them. But there's nothing that sticking out too bad. I think the whole Drake and Kendrick Lamar thing was weird, how they were beefing. And one thing that pisses me off is so many good songs came out in like, what, 10 days, 15 days? We got like 8 full songs that were pretty good. And then Kendrick Lamar hasn't dropped an album since like 2017. It's like, why don't you put that energy into just like making real good music instead of all this bullshit? Like, we know you can do it. You made a song in 12 hours. J. Cole, for example, his diss track to Kendrick, it was called the 7-minute drill. He was in the studio for 7 minutes and created a 4-minute song that was fantastic.
Well, and out of this whole beef between the two of them, it's like Kendrick's song really is the one that just took off, and like you still hear it, and you're like, all right, that's a good song. But like all the other songs, you have to like really search the internet to try to find like I don't know. Yeah, you think it was like plotted, like they're like, hey, you want to do this? Like, let's just act like we have this beef so we can generate a whole bunch of money.
Well, it depends how many zeros we're talking, because some things, I'm sure Drake got embarrassed and exposed about, but I'm sure there's a price for everything,
Yeah. Yes,
and
there is.
when you're at that level, it's unfathomable amounts of money.
I know
because
you ever see him playing roulette, like $1 million a spin.
like just drunk on his patio doing nothing, or just all the money he bets on the UFC like nothing.
He's terrible at betting.
He is. It's a curse. It's like he's so bad. It's known as like the Drake curse. Whoever he bets on will lose.
You know, we cannot bet on UFC fights anymore because there's some coach. There's like a conspiracy of whether he was betting on his athlete, and so they banned everyone that is associated on the teams with. You can't bet on UFC fights. But back in the day when I was allowed to, I think like my opinion's so biased, and it wasn't based off of anything factual. It'd be like, I met this guy.
Yeah.
Right? I met this guy. Oh, he's definitely going to win. He's tough as nails. And all of a sudden he'd just go out and just get slept. I'm like, why did I bet on that dude? Just because I met him one time.
Yeah, I'm the worst. Ask all my friends. I'm the worst at picking UFC fights. They would all think like, oh, you're the best. You're the biggest fan. You used to fight. You should know. I'm the worst at picking fights.
Me too. It's, sometimes there's styles matchup make fights and things like that. And recently, I feel like we've had some really good fighters that I think Father Time's winning. They were so amazing throughout the test of time, and eventually you just have to come off that mountain. It doesn't last forever. So you look at Volkanovski, Adesanya, still amazing people, amazing fighters, but they're coming off the mountain a little bit, I think.
What do you think about John Jones?
I think John Jones stylistically had an excellent matchup on his last fight against Cyril Gane.
Mm-hmm.
I think John Jones is really smart about the fights he's picking. I'm probably willing to guess that he has come off the mountain a little bit. But he's going to go against Stipe, probably win, maybe retire, or find a fight that makes like insane amount of money. But
Alex, or is it Pereira? Alex
Pereira. I don't even know. I ate acai with him.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, he's got hands that are like the biggest hands ever. He doesn't understand.
Like they don't make sense.
No, it's insane. It's the biggest hand I've ever seen.
Whoa.
And we were down in Rio and eating acai, and he doesn't understand English at all. But we're in like these tiny little tables, and him and his ex-girlfriend were sitting right next to us, and I just like, hey, yo, let me see your hands. Oh, I'm like, geez.
Dang.
I think that's a favorable win, though, for John Jones.
Yeah. I think that would be, if he could beat Miocic and then beat Alex, he could ride off into the sunset. And in my books, he already is, but cemented greatest of all time ever to do anything, ever.
I completely choose the path of least resistance to get the win.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean that'd be a good fight. Good fight.
Who do you think is the greatest combat sports athlete of all time?
Greatest combat sports athlete of all time.
I mean, we have from Dan Gable, Mighty Mouse, John Jones, Hoist Gracie. Who stands out on the top of that mountain from everything combat?
See, I'm gonna be biased again though. It's gonna be a wrestler, and I'm gonna fall victim to my childhood hero, Jordan Burroughs. What he's got, 7, 8 world titles. The guy just seems like an amazing human being. Internationally, just one of the most recognized wrestlers. I mean, he's done it over and over and over again. It's hard for me not to try to choose him. But how do you go against John Jones? How do you go against a guy that's been doing cocaine on a Friday and beating people up on a Saturday and been doing it for 20 years, It's in all seriousness, like you just can't take it away from him.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is tough as can be. I mean, he is the baddest man in the world, and he could probably beat up anyone and their friend combined, so DC kind of, we forget about him, but he was a, 2 division champ. Like, how do you, DC was tough as nails, and John Jones just had his number, John Jones is something special.
I feel bad for, if I ever met Daniel, I'm sure I'd shake his hand, and I definitely look up to him for what he did to the sport and what he's doing now, but because I love John Jones so much, I hated him so bad. I hated DC growing up. I was like, he's the all-time second best at light heavyweight. He's up there.
He's such a nice guy. He is such a nice guy. He's so personable. We down in Rio, we actually went up, me, Terrence, Saeed, we were playing video games against him.
Whoa.
And man, I can't say a bad thing about him. And he's a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you're a wrestler, you get like 15 points in my book, because that's where my heart is. But yeah. So tough, multiple weight classes.
And he's been doing it forever. What did he fight before UFC? Wasn't he in like
Strike Force, I think?
Yeah, he's been around a long time. He knows what he's talking about for sure.
We're gonna get a little wild here, but who is your favorite fighter of all time besides John Jones?
GSP.
Oh, okay, solid choice. I'm gonna give you one that you're not actually gonna. You're gonna be like, "What the hell, Dylan? What's wrong with you?" It's actually Andre Arlovsky.
Really?
This guy's been fighting.
He's still fighting.
That's what I'm saying. How can you not respect it? I mean, I remember back in like Strike Force, he's got the mouth guard
with the fangs.
Yeah, scary dude, and he's still fighting today. And like, yeah, I have a lot of respect for that guy. I don't fanboy out very much. Like I probably met every world champ you could think of. Like go up and down the line. Oliveira, Figueiredo, Moreno, Usman. Like I've met a lot of the world champs. They're very nice people, just tough as nails. But you put Arlovsky in front of me, like, dude, I might be speechless. I just think I think the world of that guy, because how can he be that tough for that long?
Yeah, it's crazy. He's a certified OG. He'll be in the Hall of Fame for sure if he's not already.
Yeah. I wonder when he's gonna hang him up.
Well, he just won his last fight. He won, right?
Yeah. Right now, it seems like it's a coin flip when he goes out there.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's not much legacy-wise that he can achieve next. Like, I don't think he's going to be a world champion or anything like that right now. So it's probably just because he's been doing it so long and he loves it.
Well, I'm sure that is, but also he's been doing it a long time. I'm sure he makes a decent amount of money every time he fights. And this is my theory, and actually this might tie in perfectly because we have Michael Chiesa going against Tony Ferguson. I saw something like the Salt Lake City payouts, Tony was making like $230,000, $240,000 a fight. And someone's like, why is he still fighting? He's lost 6 in a row, 7 in a row. And I'm doing the math in my head, like 240 times 7. Like, I know he's still fighting. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
How do you, if you still have opportunities to just go out there and make $240,000 in a night, like, that's not just dollar store money. That's legit. So, yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to get out there? Any plugs? Or actually, let me reset this and then we'll kind of reset again. Okay, cool. So before we get to the plugs and stuff, why don't you run through just what's on the top of your head or what you got coming next for your athletes?
Yeah, so as we work our way down the list, next week we have Brady Heastan in the UFC. He'll be fighting the Apex Center. Great matchup, great stylistic opponent. That's going to be exciting. We go 1 week later, we have Kai Stewart defending the world title. Kai Stewart's going for the three-peat, but he's going against an ultra-dangerous knockout artist. 7 fights, 7 knockouts. It's going to be a pretty crazy fight. I've heard that this guy has he's sold $100,000 worth of tickets. So we are going into enemy territory. We're probably going to get booed, but we're going to walk out with the belt right across his shoulder, right across his waist. We take it a little bit farther. August 3rd, Michael Chiesa against Tony Ferguson. And the grand finale ends in Paris. We're going to be August 9th, Stefan Micic is going for a gold medal. And then also I have another gentleman named Ashton Matua who will be competing for Nigeria at the 125 kilograms in Paris. So they're both going to be competing at the same time. So
Wow.
we have like an action-packed summer coming up.
And Melissa just won again.
She's been through so much. You know, she broke her hand multiple times. Her first time come back down to 115 pounds. And yeah, she got a great win. And she's another person that, man, as a coach, you just couldn't ask for anything more. Like she defines relentless consistency. That girl has balls. I mean, like just like she'll put it all on the line. She doesn't care. Like she's not going to give up, and she's going to put everything she has into it. So, yeah.
Cool, man. Well, look right into that camera. Give them any plugs. Anybody you want to shout out where they can find you?
Yeah, so if you want to find me, go to DL Training Systems on Instagram. Really important, though, we do have the grand opening, DL Training Systems. That's coming July 1st. That's going to be out in Liberty Lake, Washington, 2110 North Moulter Road. We have some crazy things going on that day. We're going to have open workouts with some of the most elite athletes here in the Pacific Northwest. We have Mindset Mike or Mike Moore, the mindset coach coming from San Diego. He's going to be doing a free seminar, 12 o'clock. I'm going to be putting on a seminar for all athletes at 11. We're going to work on your pre-competition routine warm-up plan. Nothing will tank a performance more than a bad warm-up. So all the work that you've been doing through an 8-week camp, if you don't know how to get your body ready for battle, you're leaving a lot on the plate there. And yeah, so most importantly, don't forget, July 1st, grand opening, DL Training Systems. It's a 225,000 square foot building. It is insane. So show up to that, and appreciate you.
Right on. All right, everybody. Go check them out. Check out all the athletes that we've talked about. Everybody's links will be down below. Leave a like and comment. Go follow Dylan. And thanks for coming by, man. That's it.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Peace.